So when you first log in, you're taken to this home screen. So you won't see any tests here until you add some, but it'll show you the last 5 tests that you've added. I try to keep it really simple and not a lot of things to do. So you'll come in and you'll add a client, and there's different attributes that I adjust reference ranges based on different attributes. Like if you could pick the pregnancy trimester, and I adjust the red blood cell reference ranges downward because in pregnancy, women have less red blood cells because they're giving them to the baby. So I backed all this stuff up by a bunch of different studies, and I'll show you date of birth, you enter that, ethnicity, and then elevation. I also adjust reference ranges for red blood cell related markers upwards for people living in high elevations, because we know that they make more red blood cells to overcompensate for the lack of oxygen that they take in every breath because of the atmosphere. So there's some studies on that, but you'll go and I help you find, I don't know if you have a lot of clients living at high elevation cities, but if you work with clients all over the country, you might.
Absolutely.
So if you click that button there next to elevation, I'll take you to this point in my bibliography where you can go. I found this website where it has all sorts of city data, but I sorted it already on elevation. And then you just type in the city name. Let me see, like Denver. And then it'll just show all the cities around Denver, and then I sort them by alphabetical order. And then
Wow.
And then go by, here's Denver, and then it's 5277. So then I grab that and then put that in there for elevation. And then I'll adjust the ranges based on that. Anything over 3280 feet, which is 1,000 meters. And then cigarette smoker, yes or no. And I just adjust some possible root causes based on this information. So yes, and you can put yes and number of cigarettes. I don't adjust anything for number of cigarettes smoked per day, but just something to put in there. An alcohol drinker and number of drinks per day, or yes or no, either way. And then you put all that information in, and then you hit save, and then that client will go to the top of this table. This is the client's table. And then from there, you'll click this button and you'll go add test results for that client. This is the collection date that's on the Bloodwork. And then I try to group it in panels like we get on the Bloodwork, like CBC with differentials. So you enter those, and I try to do as many things as I can to make it go faster. So I automate any calculations in here. So let's just say red blood cells, hemoglobin, and hematocrit. I automatically calculate MCV, MCH, and MCHC. So you could just skip those because those are formulas based on those 3 values. And then everything in the CB, I do the same thing with white blood cell differentials. So you can either pick absolutes or percent, and I'll calculate the other and plot those in the graphs. Then everything on the CBC. So this is just a placeholder, an example, but it represents the mean of that range for that particular client with their attributes, just as a reference. But enter all those. Lipid panel I have, iron panel markers, thyroid panel, and then a whole bunch of different markers that I just put in alphabetical order because they didn't really fall in a panel. They just show up anywhere on the Bloodwork. And then I'm going to work on next is sex hormone panel that has all the different estrogens and testosterones and things like that. It ends up being right now 82 different bar graphs that I could generate based on these markers, because there's some calculations that I have that aren't in here, but they'll show up as markers. So enter any of those, and so you hit save, and then that will go to the top of this table. You could either delete the test, you could edit it if you made a mistake, or you could view the results. It'll just pop up a box and just show you everything you entered in case you wanted to verify it. But the cool thing is the analysis button. So you click the analysis button, and that'll bring up the automated analysis for those results. I'll show you a whole bunch of different combinations. The first section I have built out the most is the red blood cell analysis section. And I call it, since we're nutrition consultants and we're not allowed to diagnose, I don't use any diagnostic terms. So I use the body system process. So suboptimal blood oxygen delivery represents anemia. It's just a process of delivering oxygen by the blood to all cells of the body. If it's suboptimal, then that's anemia. I base these 3 markers I use to determine the severity. It would be less likely, possible, likely, or highly likely. And then I give you the size, either macrocytic, normocytic, microcytic, based on the MCV, and the color, hyperchromic, normochromic, based on the MCHC, and then also give you the possible root causes of why your client might have that anemia. So there's all sorts of rules and patterns behind this that automatically change based on the values of this grouping, plus all sorts of other values that we know. And let me show you something, a better analysis.
Wow.
So
That's pretty awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Wow.
Come here, you go to manage test results. This is where you can select any client and look at all the test results for that client. I'll run through some examples, and then I'll show you this table. It's not really good for this one because these are all the same. So the first test for this, my practice client.
Like Wilma.
Wilma. That's great. So this is an analysis of Wilma, but with where she doesn't have values for her iron panel. So she has a microcytic hypochromic anemia, but we don't know what the root cause is because we don't have the values for the iron panel. So it could be iron deficiency, but I say insufficiency, but it could be all these other things. We just don't know. So if you find somebody that is taking an iron supplement just based on this without the iron panel, I mean, I would tell them stop, because you need that iron panel to go a little further. So I have all a bunch of root causes if you don't have the iron panel, and there are more. But then I go next step. If they have the iron panel, I dig in a little more and have more patterns, and that narrows down the possible root causes. And I'll show you that with some others. But here real quick, I'll show you in the Insights tab, I show you all the different rules and how I came up with each thing that's in the possible root causes, and just a bunch of information about the things in here. Then I have additional.
You're very thorough. Holy cow.
It's crazy. Yeah, I have so much in here. Additional testing. So where you should go and test next, like this would be the first thing. But if you need to test for vitamin A or copper or any of these things, I give you ideas on where to test next, and further considerations of where to look at next, if there's copper insufficiency or lead toxicity. Like this is one I use a lot, this heme synthesis dysfunction. It's really sideroblastic anemia, but I call it the body system process, where there's a dysfunction in creating heme, and because you need B6 and zinc to take that iron and turn it into heme. So a lot of times people are deficient in B6 or zinc, and they have enough iron, and they're telling people to take iron because they think they have anemia. Meanwhile, they just need B6. I talk about this one in here. You could have too much lead, and that could disrupt that process, that pathway. I have signs and symptoms, diet and lifestyle, and then notes. You could just put some notes in here. So then let's just say it's the same client, and now we have values for her iron panel. And these values will narrow down the possible root causes to just heme synthesis dysfunction. Because when you look at the iron panel, she has more than enough iron in her serum. She has more than enough iron saturating transferrin in the serum, and there's more than enough ferritin. So that means it's not iron deficiency. So you shouldn't be giving this person iron. You should be giving them B6, because B6, I use ALT and AST. Those are liver markers, and they're B6 dependent enzymes. When those are low, it could be an indication of a B6 deficiencies. In this case, you need B6 to turn iron into heme, to make hemoglobin. Based on that information, I say that this is the most likely possible root cause. And you could see I have different sections. Like this is the first section that I have really blown out and like in-depth analysis, and I'm working on doing the others. But I have all these graphs in these other sections. Like in the immune system section I have right now, I'll tell you if there's an abnormality. Now I'm working on, is it chronic bacterial infection, acute viral, or acute bacterial parasitic infection? So that'll be like the detail I break out in there. But at least you have all the different graphs for each different section. There's more in here. I'll show you another one that has all of the graphs, or all the 82 different graphs. But there's kidney, nutrients, electrolyte section, proteins, liver. Well, let me show you a better section. Then here's another cool thing. So this button, this icon next to each marker, takes you to the bibliography that I created, just right to that marker, and shows you where I came up with all the ranges. For that one, I got the lab range from Quest, and here's the link to that on Quest. I tried to go a step further and use different studies that I found that are mortality studies, and where if you're over this range, you have greater risk of dying or some condition. And so when I can do that and find studies instead of just doing one because the lab ranges are 2 standard deviations from the mean, representing 95% of the population at that lab or in the country. And so those are huge, wide ranges, that, and most people are sick that go get their blood work. So you don't want to be on that range, the fringes of those. So mainly for optimal ranges, we do 1 standard deviation from the mean, but there's so many different areas where instead I found different studies. So I list the studies and highlight the values of where I came up with my optimal ranges. You can go scroll around in here. This takes you to the very top, and then you can just go, if you want to go to the kidney section and look at BUN. And so what I'm also starting to do is, because I don't have analysis done for each section, or I'm going to put some information more into the bibliography to help if what increased or decreased levels mean.
Wow. The amount of work that you're putting into your bibliography alone is more information than any client will get from their doctor, trying to explain to them, like you said, not giving them a full understanding of what their lab work looks like. I try all the time to tell people this is just a snapshot in time. And, if you're feeling great and your blood work comes back normal, they're normal. I really like to see those lows and highs, because like you said, they give us an indication of what could happen. What can we do for prevention?
Yeah, exactly. So that's where these green optimal ranges fall into, and you can explain to your client, like, you want to be in this green range. I mean, you don't want to be on the fringes of the lab range. Yeah. So, and you can, you could click this button and it opens up a window and it saves all the graphics to a PDF. So you can share that with your client, but no, it doesn't save any of the tab information, because that's more like practitioner detailed stuff that you might want to copy and paste and put it in your report or whatever. But at least for the client, you could save all this stuff. And then here, I'll show you a couple more. I'll show you another cool thing. This is the same client with all the same values, except they're different values for the iron panel. And in this scenario, again, you wouldn't want to give iron, because the body is sequestering iron because there's an infection, probably a bacterial infection. So I use white blood cells are greater than optimal here. So that tells me there's an acute infection happening. And in acute bacterial infection, bacteria use iron to generate energy. So the body knows that, and it keeps it out of the serum. So you don't want to be given iron when the body's trying to keep it out of the serum, away from the bacteria, because you can prolong the infection. So based on this information and this pattern of high ferritin, because that's an acute phase reactant, so there's probably some inflammation going on. So I narrowed down the root cause to that. And so there's just so many different combinations. It looks so simple because it's just going to tell you right here what it could be. Like there's another one, stomach acid insufficiency. I don't say hypochlorhydria, but I'll say stomach acid insufficiency. And that could be caused by zinc insufficiency, which could be caused by the acute infection. So wherever I can come up with more patterns, I try to throw that in there. So I even have reticulocyte count, and I calculate the reticulocyte production index. So you could use that to differentiate if you're losing blood or it's an iron deficiency. Okay, let me show you. Oh, this is a cool thing. So this is the analysis with just those values on the bar graph, but I have this other button here that shows you the previous values and the current values on the same bar graph. Oh, you can't see this one because it's not. Everything's the same except the iron, but this is what it would look like. So this would be like the current value and the previous value plotted on the same graph. So, and you could save that to a PDF too, if you want to share that with your client. So you can compare the results. Yeah, you compare the results that way. Or I have this table here where you could plot in this table up to 10 of the most recent tests from that one client. And it goes from oldest to newest. And then there's this trend column here where we compare the current to the previous and tell you if you're trending in the right direction or in the wrong direction. So this would be a low lab range, low, but this was even lower last time. So you're trending in the right direction, even though you're still low, like the optimal min was 454. And this one would be the high lab, but it's even getting higher. So you're trending in the wrong direction. And so you could do the same. So this is helpful to show the client over time, and then just compare it. And then you could click this button and also it brings up a a window where you could export that to PDF and save that to your hard drive and share that with the client.
That's really nice. Wow. Okay. So what's the process for, do we use this per client? Like if I need to do, like I just got a new client I'm starting with next week, and I'm going to have her send me her last blood results so we can take a look at it. So if I were to go in, do I
You add
contact you
her.
first?
No,
Or
well,
do
so
I go in, do I have like a platform that I access with a username and
oh
stuff?
yeah, yes. Okay, here's my website. So you could sign up for free, and let me see. That takes you to this page. So and I give you just some steps on how to sign up. Like you, but when these are just the steps. But when you click this button, it'll take you to the site. Well, let me log out so I'll show you what it really looks like. I'm already logged in. So it'll come here and look like this, and then you click create account. And then you fill that in with your email, password, first name, last name, and phone number, create an account, and sends you a code in your email. And then it comes back to this window where it says enter your code and you confirm it. And now you're able to log in. And it's so from the website, there's the LabSmarts login, that's the software. And then so you get when you create the free account, you get 3 free tests, because I wanted everybody at least be able to try it out. You get 3 free tests on that free account, but you can't edit the test or the client. But then if you want to buy it, you come back in here to the pricing page and you'll get 10 tests a month for $9 a month. And then every month I just go in and add 10 more tests to your account. Or you get unlimited if you do 19 a month, or I have this yearly where if you do $90 a year or 190 a year, I give you 2 months for free. I try to keep it pretty cheap so people would use it.
Very reasonable for all the work that you put into this. You have the features that we use as nutrition professionals, because like you said, we're not here to diagnose someone. We just want to bring them to attention of, some possible root causes for them to feel like crap, even though their doctor says you're fine and there's nothing wrong with you. What you're providing data and backup, and your research and your bibliography alone gives me reassurance of the quality of your work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome. And that's very fair pricing. I was not expecting that.
So this should save you a lot of time, right? And so you don't have to go
Oh
through
my
each
gosh.
one. And
So much time. So much time, especially for those clients that I deal with who have a lot of stuff going on.